Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brighter Black Futures podcast. My name is Bisa Dobson, and I'm your host. And today I'm here with episode 3. I can hardly believe we're at episode 3, but here we are. And speaking of the number of episodes now available of this podcast, if you're brand new here, seeing me for the first time, maybe go back and check out episode 1 and 2, either before you listen to this podcast or after, whatever floats your boat. But be sure to check those out because there's some great information, learning, and sharing in those podcasts as well. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, today I want to give you a deeper look, highlight the 3 pillars, the 3 foundational ideas behind all the programs that will be offered at Brighter Black Futures. So, you'll have a deeper understanding of what the programs will offer to Black children as far as helping them with their mindset and giving them the knowledge and skills they need to succeed in societies we live in that are often steeped in lots of ABR, anti-Black racism. We want kids to thrive despite ABR and do well in life and be awesome global citizens. And Brighter Black Futures is doing our part to help make sure that happens. So I want to give you more information on how we plan to do it. So let's get into it. Now, before I get into the 3 pillars behind all the programming here at Brighter Black Futures, I want to give you a little refresher on what we're all about. Here at Brighter Black Futures, we're on a mission to support adults who are concerned with the well-being of the Black children in their care. And we do that by offering online education that, number 1, mitigates the ongoing impact of anti-Black racism on the development of our youth, and number 2, creates opportunities for Black children to access inclusive and culturally affirming content so they can grow, learn, and flourish. Now, at Brighter Black Futures, when we're developing our programming, we keep 3 key pillars or foundational ideas in mind to build those programs out. And those key pillars are Black history from an international perspective, of course, discussions of racism as a tool of capitalism and oppression, and finally, lots of discussion around mindset. Now, with that understanding of the 3 foundations or pillars that we use to build out our programs, let's take a deeper look at each one individually. So let's start with Black history, a subject that is near and dear to my heart. Now, often when people think about Black history, they think, first of all, of U.S. Black history because it gets a lot of attention, rightly so, it's a big enough country. Then, secondly, they think about the institution of slavery. And finally, they might think about African kings and queens from days long past. But here's the truth. Black history is world history. It's international history. We are everywhere, from India to Mexico to Asia. And though our histories are buried or not often discussed, they warrant discussion, and young children need to know about them because we as Black people are everywhere, belong everywhere, and have been everywhere for a long time. So here at Brighter Black Futures, our focus is talking about Black history from an international perspective, and also speaking about people and persons you wouldn't normally hear about. So generally, when histories are written, it is the most powerful and also often the men of a particular group that are discussed. We're going to talk about women, not just the prominent woman you always hear about, but stories of Black women, Black men, people all over the world who contributed lots to the world itself and to Black history, and make sure that our kids understand that because we've been everywhere, we are everywhere, not just in the places that you expect and most often hear about. And I think it's important that kids understand that so they understand their place in the world. Number 2, racism as a tool of capitalism, particularly as a tool of oppression. And the reason why I think this is so important for kids to learn, though it's a topic that has to be handled very carefully, is because the more I learn about how racism is used and leveraged so that those who are the most powerful in society can get what they want to happen while the rest of us on the bottom, the 99% are not doing as well, the more I realize that racism is a tool in their armor, their kit to make sure that society stays the same, status quo stays the same, and the same people keep making all the money while the rest of us get poorer and poorer, just stay the same. The more I understand that racism isn't really a personal thing against me. Like, yes, it manifests in moments personally or systemically, but it isn't even really about me. And I think that is something that if I understood as a kid when I was faced with what I'll call crap in the classroom, on the playground, or just out in life, even though it still would have hurt, still would have shaped me to some extent, I think I would have been more grounded and centered and felt better about myself in many ways that I'm only starting to now that I've unpacked all the things that happened to me when I was younger. So racism is discussed not so much as something that we as Black people have to fix in Black Futures programming, because I think it's talked about way too much for people of all stripes who are marginalized and racialized. But I think it is something that we need to understand doesn't happen just because we exist. It happens because it fits into a political system that um, is expedient and good for a certain segment of society that is not us. And I think having that distance and knowing that it creates some space and allows for self esteem and self worth to build in a way that I think is really important. So that is why racism as a tool of oppression is one of the foundational things we talk about here at Brighter Black Futures in our programming. And the final piece of the puzzle is mindset. And when we're talking about mindset here at Brighter Black Futures, we're talking about three very specific things. Number one, we're talking about grit, developing the passion and perseverance to pursue a long-term goal. Because when you get gritty, you can accomplish almost anything and, of course, have the success in life that you want. Number two, we're talking about learning from your mistakes, failing forward. Often what happens in classrooms is that there's a culture of embarrassment around mistakes, so people don't want to make them. At Brighter Black Futures, we want to teach kids that failing forward is epic. You know why it's epic? Because after you dust yourself off and you stop being embarrassed when you made a mistake, if you're embarrassed at all, you've learned something that will help you move forward and be better in the future. So failing forward is a key part of the mindset piece that is infused to all our programs here, in all our programs here at Brighter Black Futures. And the final piece, of course, is fostering belief in themselves. And that's not something I say lightly. For adults, grown adults like us, it is super hard to really and truly believe in yourself because, of course, as we know, our identities are formed by what we believe about ourselves or have been taught to believe about ourselves and by what society and the outside world tells us about ourselves. And so at Brighter Black Futures, we take great pains to ensure we're teaching kids to focus on what is possible for themselves while also consistently reminding them that what the outside world has to say, what the people who are their parents and loved ones have to say, isn't always true. So they won't hopefully internalize as much of the crap, I'll call it politely here, that so many of us the adults in their lives did, so they can flourish and be better as they grow into adulthood. All right, that is it. You now understand the three pillars behind Brighter Black Futures programming. That's Black history, racism as a tool of oppression, teaching about that, and of course the mindset piece, which includes teaching kids how to develop grit, how to fail forward, and of course, believe in themselves for real, by not taking on all the stuff that the outside world tells them about themselves that is often very negative. We don't want that. None of that for us. Anyway, that is it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast and I look forward to seeing you here next time. Till then, take care and be well. Bye.